started with a call at 6 in the morning. I was elbow deep in dad duties. One kid was yelling about a missing shoe. The other was crying because their sock felt weird. Typical chaos. My wife Jenna was in Miami, supposedly at a finance seminar. We'd texted the night before. She sent a heart emoji, told me she missed me. Everything seemed normal. Then the phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. It was her. Her voice was shaking. Said her purse got stolen at the hotel gym. Claimed she left it by the water cooler while doing stretches, and when she turned around, gone. Her credit cards, ID, everything. She asked me to cancel all the cards, call the bank, even file a police report. She sounded panicked, almost like she was out of breath. I did it, of course. No questions. Just concern. But I couldn't ignore the way she rushed me off the phone. For the rest of the day, I tried to focus on work and the kids. Told myself maybe she was just shaken up. Who wouldn't be? Then 2 days later, I got an email alert from our bank. It flagged an attempted wire transfer of $5,000 to someone named Elijah M. Something. I didn't recognize the name, and neither of us had ever mentioned wiring money. Jenna said she'd frozen the accounts. How could this transfer attempt even happen? I texted her. She replied right away. Must have been part of the theft. Maybe they tried just before the freeze hit. Sounded reasonable. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she was too ready with that answer. Later that night, after the kids were in bed, I opened up the family laptop. We both used it mostly for shared finances and scheduling. I typed in Elijah M. And there it was. An email folder buried under Tax Stuff 2019. Inside, I found a thread of messages between Jenna and someone named Elijah. They weren't about money. They were about them. There were photos. Romantic ones. Intimate. Smiling together in places I'd never been. Mountains, beaches, rooftops under string lights. And not a single one looked familiar. I scrolled faster, trying to make sense of it. Her messages were flirty, bold, full of inside jokes and plans for next time. In one, she even called him her escape. It hit me like a freight train. This wasn't a fling. This was an alternate life. I just sat there in the dark, staring at the screen. Eventually, I closed the laptop, walked into our bedroom, and stood in front of her closet. Something told me to keep going. I started checking inside bags, behind old jackets. Then I noticed one of her boots felt heavier than it should. Inside was a small black clutch. When I unzipped it, I found a phone. Not her regular one. It was a burner. Still charged. No passcode. I tapped into the messages. The first thread was with Elijah. More of the same. Flirting, pictures, hotel room numbers. Then I scrolled further and found 3 other contacts. Each with names like Boston Bay, Seattle Guy, and Houston Heat. All with saved addresses. All using nicknames. All with different area codes. Each one lined up with a city Jenna had traveled to for work in the last year. This wasn't just cheating. It was a full-blown network. I started taking screenshots, backing everything up to a flash drive I kept for taxes. As I went through the messages, I noticed a pattern. She always said the same goodbye. Back to real life. Miss you already. Real life. That's what I was. The guy folding laundry and cutting crusts off sandwiches. And I had no idea how deep it really went. I barely slept that night. The burner phone was in a Ziploc bag under my bed, next to the flash drive. I didn't want to look at it again, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. How many lies had she told me? How long had she been living this second life? In the morning, Jenna texted like nothing happened. Morning babe, how's Lily's cough? Miss you. She sent a selfie with a smoothie and the hotel pool behind her. I stared at that photo longer than I should have, wondering if Elijah was just out of frame. Or worse, taking the picture. I replied, pretending everything was fine. I needed time. After dropping the kids at school, I pulled into a random parking lot and opened the burner again. I wanted to understand the timeline. When did this start? Why? Some of the earliest texts with Elijah were dated over a year back. I remember that time clearly. She told me she needed space to focus on work and travel more. That's when the work trips started getting longer. She hadn't spiraled. She had planned it. One thread had her coordinating with Elijah about booking the same hotel floor. Another showed him texting her a photo of a fresh tattoo on his forearm, Roman numerals. I remembered that tattoo from a selfie. Jenna's hand was in the shot, resting on his chest. That photo was dated the same weekend she told me she was at her company's annual retreat in Boston. She even posted a work conference badge on her Instagram that weekend. But that badge wasn't real. The same photo was sent to Elijah first as a joke. She called it her invisibility cloak. It made my skin crawl. That evening, after I put the kids to bed, I sat in the kitchen staring at the burner phone again. I didn't want to confront her unprepared. I needed more. So I called my cousin Kyle. He's a cop in Denver. Solid guy. No drama. I told him I needed a license plate checked. Something from a photo Jenna had sent to one of her flings. He didn't ask questions, just said, "Send it over." An hour later, he called back. His tone changed. "You sure you want to know this?" I told him I did. The plate belonged to a man named Elijah Martin. No middle name. Registered in Miami. But what caught Kyle's attention was that Elijah had been questioned recently in connection to a fraud investigation, targeting high-end hotels, fake theft reports, fake credit card losses, insurance scams. Suddenly, this wasn't just infidelity. It was something darker, and my wife might have been involved. Jenna came home the next day, kept it cool. We hugged. She smiled, kissed me on the cheek, said she was exhausted from back-to-back meetings. I nodded, asked if she found her purse. She said no, but the hotel promised to keep looking. Said it was probably long gone. I asked if she'd gone to the gym again after the theft. She hesitated. No, just stayed in my room after that. Another lie. That night, while she was in the shower, I opened her work laptop. She always left it on the counter. I didn't have her password, but she'd typed it in front of me 100 times. I guessed it on the third try. There were 2 browser windows open. One was her email. The other, a travel rewards portal with flights booked to Houston, Seattle, and Denver over the last 6 months. All under her name. None were for work. There was also a saved PDF itinerary for a wellness and wealth conference in Miami. The dates matched her most recent trip. Only problem? I Googled the event. It didn't exist. I sat there staring at the screen. There was no wellness and wealth conference. No speakers, no event listing, not even a shadow website. Nothing. It was made up, just like the purse theft, just like the hotel gym story. She wasn't there to grow her career. She was there to feed a lie. And I started wondering how many other lies had I believed without question. I printed the fake itinerary, took screenshots of the travel portal. Every detail I could find, I backed up. Something in me had shifted. This wasn't about saving the marriage anymore. It was about protecting my kids, my name, my sanity. The next morning, while Jenna slept in, I dropped the kids off and drove straight to a private investigator's office. A guy named Russo, older, ex-military type, clean records, Miami-based. I picked him because his agency had contacts in nearly every city she'd ever traveled to. I laid it all out. The burner phone, the fake emails, the suspicious bank transfer, the connection to Elijah. Russo listened, barely blinking. Then he leaned back and said, "You want the truth? We'll get it." I gave him the dates of her last 3 trips, her hotel preferences, even the name of her fake conference. He said it'd take a week, maybe less. His team would dig into hotel logs, security footage, everything. I paid him in cash. That night, I acted normal. Helped with homework. Ate dinner at the table like nothing had changed. But inside, I was shaking. At one point, Jenna asked if I was okay. "Yeah," I said. "Just tired." She reached across the table, touched my hand. "I know I've been gone a lot, but it's for us." I nodded, but I wasn't hearing her anymore. I was watching her. Days passed. Russo kept in touch, said he was making progress. Then, 6 days later, I got a call from a blocked number. "Got something," he said. "You sitting down?" He sent me a photo. Jenna, rooftop bar, wearing the same dress she bought for our anniversary. arm around a man, Elijah. I recognized the tattoo immediately. They were laughing, drinks in hand, surrounded by people. And she wasn't wearing her ring. Russo said they were seen checking into the same hotel room. He even got footage of her using his keycard to enter. Not once, multiple times. There was no sign she even had her own room. Worse, Elijah wasn't traveling under his real name. He checked in using an alias. Russo traced it back to a burner account linked to a phishing scam targeting high-end hotels. Fraud, impersonation, stolen identities. And Jenna? She was right there beside him. The last thing Russo said was, "She's not just cheating, man. She's helping him." I hung up the phone and just sat there, numb. For 11 years, I thought I knew who I married. I thought we were partners, parents, a team. But she wasn't just breaking vows. She was living a double life, and maybe crossing legal lines to do it. That night, she brought wine to the bedroom, said she wanted to reconnect. She ran her fingers down my arm like nothing was wrong, but I couldn't feel anything. I stared at her and thought, this woman might be on her way to jail, and I'm still folding her laundry. The next morning, I met with my lawyer. I showed him everything: texts, burner phone, fake conference info, the PI's photos, even the attempted wire transfer. He barely said a word while flipping through the files. Just nodded slowly, like he'd seen this before. When he finally looked up, he said, "You're holding a grenade. Handle it right, and you'll walk away with your kids, your assets, and your name intact." That's all I needed to hear. We filed for divorce that day. No fault, but with full documentation. I made one request: serve her at work. She'd always been obsessed with appearances, especially at the office. I wanted her to feel what I felt, publicly. Before I left, I also asked the lawyer if we could request full custody. His answer? With that burner phone and a fraud investigation? It's likely. I didn't smile, but for the first time in days I exhaled. Back home, Jenna was folding towels. She looked up, smiled, and asked if I could help her load the car for another conference next week. Said it was in Seattle this time. Seattle. Just like one of the names in her burner. Seattle guy. I told her sure, no problem. Watched her move around the kitchen like nothing had changed. She was humming. That night, while brushing my daughter's hair before bed, she looked at me and said, "When's mommy leaving again?" "Tomorrow," I said. "Okay," she replied. "Can we get pancakes after school?" It broke me. My daughter had no idea what was happening. No clue the woman kissing her goodnight had another man's name saved under Houston Heat. After they were in bed, I got a text from Russo. By the way, it read, "You might want to know, Elijah's married." My jaw clenched. This just kept getting darker. But then it got worse. "His wife's name is Chloe," he added. "She might be reaching out soon. Found your name through a subpoena related to one of the hotels." I stared at the message. My head was spinning. The man Jenna risked everything for? He had a family too. She wasn't just playing with fire. She was dragging entire families into the flames. The next morning, I didn't say goodbye when she left. Just nodded as she grabbed her suitcase and breezed out the door. A few hours later, she was served at her office. Papers in hand, coworkers watching. She didn't come home that night. The kids asked where she was. I told them she had to stay late for work. It wasn't a lie. Not exactly, but it felt like it. I put them to bed early and sat in the living room, phone in hand, waiting for anything. An email, a call, a screaming text from Jenna. Nothing came, just silence. Until 10:47 p.m. Blocked number. I answered, didn't say a word. "I'm sorry," she whispered. That was it. No crying. No explanation. Just those two words. I didn't respond. Just hung up. The next day, I woke up to a message request on Facebook from someone named Chloe M. I already knew who she was. We talked on the phone that evening. For 3 hours. Turns out, she'd found photos on Elijah's old cloud backup. Some of Jenna. Some of other women. Some from hotel rooms. Chloe had never been to Miami, Denver, Boston. She confronted Elijah. He denied it, then walked out. She filed for divorce the same week I did. We compared timelines. Her photos and mine matched. The messages, the burner phones, the fake hotel registrations, it was a pattern. This wasn't a love story gone wrong. It was a con. But here's what hit hardest. Jenna wasn't just emotionally involved. She was helping him manipulate hotel records, create fake bookings, even stage thefts to trigger claims. Chloe found notes in Elijah's phone that mentioned her girl in finance, who helped keep things clean. That girl was my wife. Chloe asked me something then, something I hadn't prepared for. Do you think she ever loved you? I didn't answer right away. My throat felt like it closed up. Eventually I said, I think she loved the version of me who didn't ask questions. That night, Jenna finally showed up at the house. She didn't knock, just walked in like she still lived there. Eyes red, face pale. She stood in the doorway, gripping a crumpled manila envelope, the divorce papers. Can we talk? She asked. I didn't say yes, but I didn't stop her either. She sat down at the kitchen table like it was just another Wednesday night. Please, she said, let's fix this. We can go to therapy. I'll quit traveling. You forged hotel records, Jenna. She froze. You helped a man scam people while telling our kids you were at work. Do you even realize how far this has gone? Tears started to fall, fast and heavy. She covered her face like she could hide inside her hands. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, she mumbled. That's the thing, I said. You didn't mean for it to happen, but you made sure it did. She tried to reach for my hand. I stood up and walked away. Jenna didn't come back after that night. I wasn't sure where she went, and honestly, I didn't care. I had other things to focus on, like making sure the kids didn't feel the aftershocks of the storm tearing through our family. They asked about her, of course. I kept my answers simple. She's figuring some things out, but I'm right here. That weekend, my lawyer filed for an emergency custody hearing. With the evidence from the PI, the burner phone, and the financial red flags, he said it was solid. The court date was set for the following Thursday. On Tuesday morning, Jenna texted me out of nowhere. I miss them. I miss you. I didn't reply. That same day, Chloe sent me a screenshot. Elijah had been arrested. Fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to defraud a financial institution. He'd been under surveillance for months. The photos and records we turned over helped seal the case. Chloe's message was simple. He's done. The news hit me sideways. Not because I felt justice, but because it meant Jenna's name might surface next. And she knew it. Thursday came. I showed up at the courthouse with my lawyer, holding a folder packed with everything. Jenna arrived late. She looked tired, thinner, like she hadn't slept in days. When the judge asked if either party had anything to declare before the hearing, she stood up slowly and said, I'll withdraw my custody request. Just like that. No fight. No drama. I should have felt victorious. But all I felt was this cold emptiness. As we were leaving, she followed me into the hallway. I didn't want to hurt them, she said quietly. I lost control. You didn't lose control, Jenna, I replied. You just stopped caring who got hurt. She opened her mouth to speak again, then stopped. Her hands were shaking. She turned and walked the other way. I haven't seen her since. But that wasn't the end. 2 days later, I got a call from a blocked number. Not Jenna, not Chloe. It was a detective. They wanted to ask a few questions about Jenna's role in Elijah's operation. Said she wasn't officially named yet, but if they found evidence of collaboration, that could change. I didn't hesitate. I'll cooperate fully. They thanked me, and then the call ended, leaving behind a silence that was heavier than before. A week after the court hearing, I was starting to breathe again. For the first time in months, the house felt still. Not heavy, not chaotic, just still. The kids were adjusting better than I expected. I set routines, made their favorite dinners, sat with them during homework time, and tried to be present, even when I felt like I was drifting. But then came the call. Blocked number. Again. I picked up without thinking. It wasn't Jenna. It was her best friend. Someone who'd practically vanished the moment things got messy. Hey, she said softly. I didn't know if I should call you. Jenna's not okay. I didn't respond. I just waited. She's sick. She tested positive for something serious. Something permanent. The way she said it left no doubt in my mind what she meant. She thinks she got it from one of the guys, she added. She's scared. Alone. She hasn't been eating. She asked me not to tell you, but I thought you should know. You still deserve to know. I stayed quiet. She made a mess, yeah? She said, almost pleading. But she's not evil. She's just broken. We hung up soon after. I didn't ask for more details. Didn't want to. That night, I stood in the kitchen, staring at the sink full of dishes I hadn't touched all day. The dishwasher beeped. The fridge made that hum it always does when the door's been open too long. Normal sounds. But everything felt distant. I thought about the burner phone, the fake trips, the cold lies, and the way she had looked me in the eye and said she loved me, while planning her next flight to see Elijah. And now Jenna was sitting somewhere alone, sick, probably terrified. And still, I felt nothing. Not out of cruelty. Just exhaustion. That kind of betrayal doesn't just break your heart. It scrapes it out. Leaves it hollow. You can't feel sympathy when you're still trying to feel anything at all. Later that night, I opened a box of her things. I'd kept it in the garage. Partly out of laziness, partly because I didn't want to face it. Inside were little pieces of a life that used to be real. An old birthday card from the kids. A note she wrote me on our anniversary that said, "Forever us," and a framed picture from the beach. Summer 2 years ago. Ethan was missing his 2 front teeth. Lily had pigtails, and Jenna was holding them both, smiling at the camera like everything was perfect. Back then, maybe it was, or maybe I was just the only one who thought so. I pulled the photo out of the frame, folded it once, and tucked it into the back of my desk drawer. Everything else went straight into the trash. Felt final. But the story wasn't done unraveling. The next morning, I got an email from the detective I spoke to after Elijah's arrest. The subject line was simple: "Update on Jenna Morgan." My stomach tightened. He said her name had come up in connection with 2 of Elijah's transactions. Nothing formal yet, no charges, but they were looking into whether she'd knowingly participated in the fraud or just played along without understanding. I knew better. She knew. She was too smart, too meticulous not to have known what was happening. She helped cover for him, helped file fake reports, gave excuses, played her part. And now they were circling back around. I wrote back one sentence: "I'll cooperate with anything you need." By that afternoon, Chloe called. She'd just gotten word Elijah had been denied bail. She sounded relieved, lighter. She'd filed for divorce right after our last call, and the paperwork was finalized. She was free. We talked for a while. Not about Jenna or Elijah, just about life, routines, parenting, rebuilding. How do you even start over after something like this? I asked her. She paused. "One little piece at a time," she said. "You just keep choosing what hurts the least, until something finally feels good again." I didn't have a response, but I liked that. I was still in the middle of the wreckage, but I'd made it this far. And for the first time, I was starting to believe maybe, just maybe, I could come out the other side. Not untouched, but intact. It had been a month since Jenna walked out of the courthouse with her head down and hands shaking. A month since I saw her in person. A month since I stopped wondering if she'd ever come home. She didn't. And honestly, that was the first real gift she gave me in years. The kids had settled into the new rhythm. Mornings were calmer, dinners quieter. I took over bedtime stories, Saturday pancakes, and the weird little rituals Jenna used to handle. They didn't ask about her as much anymore. When they did, it was always the same kind of question. "Do you think Mommy misses us?" I never lied. "I think she does," I'd say. "But right now, missing you isn't the same as being here." I wasn't trying to turn them against her. I wasn't even angry anymore. I just wanted them to understand the difference between presence and promises. One you can count on. The other disappears when it's inconvenient. One evening, while I was folding laundry, I found one of Jenna's old shirts mixed in with the towels. A button-up she used to wear on every trip. Always folded the same way. I don't know how it ended up there. but I held it for a long time. It didn't smell like her anymore. Just fabric softener. Still, my chest tightened. I walked it to the trash can, dropped it in, and didn't look back. A few days later, I got a message from Russo, the PI. He had a new report. Said it might help if things go further legally. Inside were timestamps, emails, receipts. Everything that proved Jenna wasn't just complicit. She was active. Her name was on paperwork, her login credentials used to edit travel logs, her emails and threads where fake invoices were discussed. It was airtight. He asked if I wanted him to keep digging. I told him no. I had what I needed. There was no use scraping the bottom of a barrel I'd already emptied. That same week, Jenna sent a letter. Not an email. Not a text. A real letter. For pages. The handwriting looked rushed, messy. She talked about how lost she'd felt for years. How she never intended to hurt anyone. How things with Elijah started small, just flirting, just attention, and then snowballed into something she didn't know how to stop. She said she missed the kids. Said she thought about them every day. Said she wished she could go back. I didn't finish reading it. I folded it in half and put it in the back of my filing cabinet. Not to keep it, just to delay throwing it away. That night, I sat on the porch after the kids went to sleep, watching the wind shift through the trees. There was no music, no phone in my hand, no distraction. Just stillness. For the first time in a long time, it didn't feel like I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'd already lived through the impact. Now I was just cleaning up the mess. That's when I knew I was done. Not just with her. With all of it. It was a Sunday afternoon. Cool breeze rolling through the open windows, while the kids built a fort out of couch cushions and blankets. I sat at the kitchen table, flipping through a pile of unopened mail, just trying to keep the day boring. Then I saw the envelope. Plain, white, no return address. But I knew the handwriting. Jenna. I opened it slowly. Inside was a short note, not handwritten like before. Typed this time, almost cold. It read, "I've agreed to cooperate with the investigation. They know I helped. I didn't name you in anything. I just wanted you to know. That was it. No apology. No emotion. Just a flat statement of fact." It was the most honest thing she'd sent me in months. I stared at it for a while, then folded it neatly and slid it into the shredder. I watched the blades turn it into strips. Gone. I was done with surprises. Except I wasn't. That same night, Chloe called again. She sounded different. Lighter, calmer. "Elijah took a plea deal," she said. "No trial. He's going away for a while." "How long?" I asked. 5 years, maybe more. It should have felt like closure, but it didn't. Not yet. Then Chloe said something I didn't expect. "I saw Jenna last week. At the courthouse. She looked wrecked. She didn't see me, but I saw her. I didn't ask for details, but she gave them anyway. She looked like someone who lost everything, and finally realized it." The words hit me hard. Not because I felt sorry for Jenna, but because I knew what it was like to lose everything. I just made a different choice. Later that week, I got a call from the school counselor. They said Ethan had drawn a picture during art class. A house with just the 3 of us. No mom. When they asked him about it, he just shrugged and said, "She doesn't live here anymore." No anger. No sadness. Just a fact. Like he'd finally understood it wasn't his fault. That night, I tucked him in a little tighter. Kissed his forehead. Said, "I'm proud of you." He smiled. "Why?" "Because you're brave," I told him. "Even when things change." Lily chimed in from the other bed. "Can we make pancakes tomorrow?" "Every Saturday," I said. "That's the rule now." They both laughed and nodded. After they drifted off to sleep, I stood in the hallway, watching their chest rise and fall in the dark. I'd never felt more protective in my life, and more certain that I wasn't going back. Not even a little. 3 months later, life finally felt like it was mine again. No more burner phones hidden in boots. No fake conferences. No cryptic emails or last-minute trips that didn't add up. Just the rhythm of real life, school drop-offs, burnt toast, sticky kitchen counters, and quiet evenings that didn't end in suspicion. I had routine again. Stability. And something else I didn't expect. Peace. The investigation into Jenna's role eventually faded from my radar. I didn't ask for updates. Didn't want them. I let the detectives do their job and I focused on mine, being a dad who showed up. Then one day I got a message. This time not from Jenna, not from Chloe. It was from a man I didn't know. He said his name was Rob. Claimed he was dating Jenna. He found my name in a court document tied to the custody hearing and reached out with one question. Should I trust her? I stared at the message for a long time. My first instinct was to delete it. But then I thought about all the nights I'd spent second-guessing myself, wondering if I'd missed signs, doubted too late. And I remembered the moment I found that burner phone. How fast everything unraveled. How I'd give anything to go back and be warned. So I wrote back. If she's being honest with you now, great. But do your homework. Watch what she does when she thinks no one's watching. That's who she really is. He never replied. I didn't need him to. A few weeks later, I took the kids on a weekend trip. Just the three of us. Nothing fancy. A cabin near the lake, marshmallows by the fire, muddy shoes, and too much sunscreen. It was the first trip in years where I didn't feel like something was waiting for me back home. No lies, no drama, just time with my kids. And the kind of quiet that doesn't make your skin crawl. The night before we left, Ethan looked at me while we roasted marshmallows and said, "This is the best trip ever." I smiled. "You think so?" He nodded. "Because it's just us. And no one's sad." That one sentence, it hit harder than anything Jenna ever confessed. We got home Sunday night, exhausted but happy. And when I tucked the kids into bed, I realized something. This wasn't the life I planned. But it was the one I chose when everything else fell apart. No secrets, no shadows, just a clean start. Maybe one day I'll trust someone new. Maybe not. But right now, I'm building something stronger than what I lost. A life where the lights are always on. And nothing's hiding in the dark.